You know what?
Oh,
This
David,
time
I'm
it's
never
serious.
going to be ready for this.
Boom.
I'm never going to be ready for this, but that's
We're ready.
okay. We are?
Yeah.
All
Hit it,
right.
guys, hit it.
All right. Ready to rock and roll?
Go.
Just tell me
Whenever
start,
you're
ready,
ready.
cut,
3,
3, 2,
1.
1. Good afternoon, everybody. Sam Alley, HIS Capital Funding, and welcome to another episode of Education. It's the best way to put it. Today we're really fortunate to have a couple of special guests that have come into town from Tampa. Jorge Vasquez and Rafi Castro from Greystone Investment Group. And they also have, well, let's see, what do we do? Homes for
Homes.
Income.
The number
right,
4.
.com, if you want to check these guys out. And, guys, thanks for coming up. I mean,
Thank you for the
it's a
invite.
nice drive.
Honored to be here.
Thank you for
Great
the
to
You
have
guys,
you.
Absolutely.
quality people.
You, Rafi, I've just met basically over the course of the last year.
No?
Jorge and I, probably over the last 3 years, have been engaged in referral business. Jorge's a dominating force in the Tampa market and the wholesale industry. And we have had mutual clients in common and have done quite a bit of business together over the course of the years. So, guys, again, thanks. But we've got some questions I think that can be very beneficial to our audience. And, tell us a little bit about, as a wholesaler. I mean, that's a pretty wide open term, right? But you work
Absolutely.
with investors from all over the country as well as all over the world, right? That are coming in,
Right.
both active, passive investors. Tell us about what you're seeing, right? You've got investors knocking on your door every day for inventory. And what's dominating your marketplace right now?
Well, mainly we have a lot of investors, out-of-state investors, Sam, and we also have a lot of investors that are foreign national investors. And the foreign nationals are looking for a way to safely invest their money, and because they still feel that the dollar is a very strong currency.
Mhm.
So you have the foreign nationals looking into investing in the dollar through real estate, and those are some of the clients we get. The out-of-state clients are people that are being priced out
Mm-hmm.
because they're in California, they're in New York. To enter the market is not the same. Anything a studio in New York,
$500,000.
500,000. So you're looking for that middle, type of investor, not the investor that has $10 million, not the investor that doesn't have any money, but that investor that has 100, 200,000, sitting in a checking account, thinking, okay, what am I gonna do? I'm earning a penny a month, and those are the type of clients. That's the demand that we see. People looking for a way to hedge against inflation and everything going on right now.
Okay. And over the course of this time, I've watched your business develop. Now you guys are engaging as well. You're actively investing yourselves. You're not
Mhm.
just serving the investor base. So
Right.
now you're jumping into the active fray
Yes.
in a forum, and you're working with those that fix and flip and those that
Mhm.
are buying and holding. But within your own experience right now, as you're engaging into, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, right? We're talking about what is the exit strategy approach. We've
Right.
got many that just jump into the game, that I'm going to flip this house, but I'm not thinking about anything else. And what are the critical factors that we've got to look at?
Right.
in your-
Well, you hit in the head. We're diversifying ourselves. We decided, it's not only just, yes, we're helping our clients, but we're also looking at how we can grow our business through the ownership of properties. But then we are very risk averse in some things. We focus on cash flow, rentals. We think that based on your very similar to your 40-40-20 approach. We think that we need to have that portion of the portfolio that is cash flowing on a monthly basis. So right now, for example, we are working on an acquisition of an apartment complex, where we initially, when we threw the numbers, like, okay, we're gonna buy it and sell it within a couple of years. And then when we did the numbers, it makes more sense to keep it, and then, cash flow from that property and use that maybe as leverage for future acquisitions there. But then flips, we are a little bit unique in that we want flips that work as rentals. I think one of the big mistakes out there is that people get into real estate because they see HGTV, they see these shows, and they make it look so easy. But then their exit strategy is just one. Hey, I want to do this. And one thing that we predicate to our investors is you need to have plan A, plan B, plan C. For flips, for example, we look for flips that if something happens with the market going down, the wrong way, you can rent it and at least cover your costs. That's, again, there are not a lot of them out there. Once you start getting into the high-end flips, it's hard to just justify a cap rate of 5 or 7. But if you get into that $100,000 to $500,000 range, you can find those flips that work as rentals. And again, you diversify because you can have those pure flips, where you bank on depreciation and the market, increasing. But then you can have those where you say, you know what, these ones, if they don't work, I can keep in my own rental portfolio and grow that. And we are huge proponents of growing your rental portfolio first and then getting into flips. So, we tell them, hey, try to get at least 10 rentals. Once you have 10 rentals, it's one of those self-feeding beasts,
Sure.
And then you can take the risk, again, back to your 40-40-20, then you can go to that 20 and say, let me swing for the fences. Because worst case scenario, I still have my fallback, I'm getting my monthly income, and it's producing, cash on a monthly basis that can support those high risk investments if you want at one point.
So you're actually doing it almost reverse of what anybody jumping into this business is doing, right? We're gonna go and flip, and then maybe I'll save some money and then put them into my rental properties, and you're doing absolutely contrary to that.
And when you think about it, with partners like HIS, if you get a rental, let's say for 70, 80,000, and you save for that, because let's say that you were saving for a flip, but then you listened to us and you went like light bulb, and you did a rental. Well, then you come to a financing partner and say, you know what, let me refinance this, and let's say that from that 80 you get 70% of that, you got 55, 60,000, then you get a second one, and what we say is do that first, get that portfolio of cash flowing properties, and then from there you have leverage and you can say, okay, I'm gonna take that money, put into a flip. Worst case scenario, again, hopefully it's a good rental.
Sure.
That if something goes wrong, you can add to your rental portfolio. But if not, then hey, you make the appreciation. But yes, most people come to us and say, hey, I have 60,000 and I want to flip. Why? With that, you can probably get a rental and go from there.
So let's get into that then, guys. When you are breaking down your property search, right, we go through the old adage of, I'm going to look at 100, I'm going to put offers in on 10, maybe I get out on 1. What formula do you use as you're going out and scouting? Because that's what you've been doing for the last 15 years.
Yeah, pretty much we have a cap rate target, and we stick to it. So we say, okay, this is what we're looking for as a cap rate. We don't care if we don't want to fall in love with the property. We don't care about anything else, but making sure within our criteria. Obviously, there's some criteria that we gotta follow up with. But as long as our main goal is to hit that cap rate. So it takes kind of like the feeling out of the transaction. It takes away, you love
The
the
emotion
property,
out of it.
the emotion out of it. You want it because it's your neighbor's home, or you've seen the property, it's beautiful, things like that. You base it on the numbers only.
Yeah,
That's the way
we actually have a very rudimentary red, yellow, green approach.
Absolutely.
Explain that. Let's get into
We
that.
basically, we have our own algorithm on what data goes into our process of analyzing a property. But to Jorge's point, we get a property, Sam sends me a property and says, hey, this property, Bell in Port Richey, at this price and this amount of repairs. We input that, we input our rent estimate, and it comes up with a cap rate. And then we have some ranges where we say, hey, if it's green, over X%, we're buying. We're buying. We're sending a contract probably that same day,
Right there.
saying, hey, here's a deposit, here's a wire for that property, because it fits everything that we're looking for, and it's a green property. So again, I may have not seen pictures of the property. I did some rudimentary search in terms of taxes and all, insurance, all that kind of stuff. But if it fits at that green, we buy. The opposite on the red ones. Man, it looks beautiful in the pictures, but when we enter those numbers, it didn't fit. We immediately tell them, we call you back and say, hey Sam, that one didn't work. And it saves us time, and it saves you time.
Sure.
Because hey, we're not the only buyers. There's other buyers out there. Why keep you? Hey, do they want it? No. Yes. No. So we immediately on the red ones, we will go back and say, hey, we don't want them. And then that gives us time to focus on the yellows. Those are the ones that, man, if you can lower the price 1,000 or 2,000, it works. Or if the repairs can be lowered, a couple of thousand, it may work. And those are the ones that we put some time into. And sometimes they come down to red and say, oh, wow. I was based on your number of repairs when I went there. This was a nightmare. So the repairs are higher, so it falls into red. Or sometimes we go on, you know what? It's something that can be done and pushes into the green. But to Jorge's point, we try to make sure that as much as possible, this is a financial transaction. Because as investors, that's a discipline that you need to have. You need to learn how to say no. I think that out of 10 properties that we get on a daily basis, we may say yes to one. The other 9 don't fit, and we tell the seller, don't feel bad. It's just that we have a model, and I think every investor needs to have that model that says this is what fits into what I'm looking for, and you need to stick to that and learn to say no to those 9, because then when you get that one, it will be exactly what you're looking for. And if you're patient and if you did due diligence in terms of creating that business model, you will find them. It's just a matter of making sure that you don't fall into money pits just because little Jimmy told you it's a great investment.
And on that, how do you do that? Talk to me about your teams and setting up your systems there. Now you've got to rely. I mean, you can't go visit every property. Although many of us do. Somebody starting off for the first time, they've got to be the chief cook and bottle washer, right? I've got to go out and look at it. I've got to do my bids. I've got to do all of that. How do you break this down?
Well, like Rafi mentioned, to give credit to Rafi again, it's all about being able to do numbers, because obviously if you have to have that system where you process all this property in order to be able to the system to spit out the ones that you want. And if you're lucky, you put up 100 properties and there's maybe 1 or 2. So, but you gotta have that system. A lot of investors spend too much time trying to make a deal work. What if I go in and instead of putting a new AC, I fix the AC? What if I cover this wall? What if, you're wasting time. You're sending that GC once, sending that GC twice, trying to make the deal work. But if you have the system in place where you could just keep sending properties into it, if the work it's more effective this way.
And the key, the key of what Jorge brings into play, it's the 15 years of experience that he has, is that system and is the team. We have a great team of relationship-based team. Okay. And by that I mean, it's not a GC that someone told me, hey, it's great. It's someone that we have worked with for years. And by the way, we have GCs today that were not with us 2 years ago. And we have GCs that were with us 5 years, and then last year, things didn't go the way we wanted, and we're not with them. But that's the key. We have a great system, but then we have a team supporting it of general contractors, of property managers, which is super, super important if you want to grow your rental portfolio. Because when you have one property, you can get that one call at 2 a.m. in the morning, hey, my toilet is broken. But when you have 10, 15, 20, to be able to scale, your portfolio, you need, this team of general contractors that, for example, going back to my red, yellow, green, we don't send contractors right away to the greenhouses. Because we know that the numbers, even if we amp up the repairs, they will still work. We don't send them to the red ones. We only send them to the yellow ones, because we need more information. So again, we have this system, but then we have the team in place that can validate that system. And that's key. Because if you go, the seller's gonna tell you, hey, do you need repairs? Heck no, only 2,000, roof, boom. Again, if you then have that team in place that can go and validate that and say, it's not 2,000, you need a new roof, you need a new AC, then that system works. And then there's other things where, again, financing partners like HIS come into play, because we like, again, to refinance our, get that cash out. It drives decisions, an AC, the AC is working, but in 2 years it's out. Then change it, because then that's gonna appraise probably more because you have a new AC, so and I can go back to them and get that money back.
Do you have something broken down to where this is the maximum amount that I would renovate here? This is the maximum dollar amount that I'm gonna go in this property? How are you breaking those type of numbers down?
No, we've
What does the active investor look like, right, to be able to determine what to do?
That's a mistake, Sam. We did that in the past where we will give budgets to GCs and say, this is the budget to make it work. And then they will do everything possible to make it work, you know, the Mickey Mouse type of work. So we step away from doing, giving the GCs any budgets at all. They have no idea how much we purchase the properties for. Even if they insist, we say, no, you come up with that number yourself. Because that could really hurt you when you give them a budget and they're like, well, I'm gonna make Sam happy, or I'm gonna make this way or that way. No, we tell them, okay, how much is it gonna be? Going back to what Rafi said, as long as, so we go through 100 properties, you're not gonna send a GC to 100 properties. You gotta have a system where, because their time is valuable as well. So you, after the 100 go through the system, only 2 come out of it at the end. Now you're only sending, you're conscious about this GC's time, so you're only sending 2. And then when that person goes in, if it fits, it fits. If it doesn't fit, you kick it out.
And let me give you examples. We've had houses that we buy for 60 that have only 3,000 repairs, and we buy them. And we just bought one that, you know, it has $35,000 in repairs, but we only bought it for 20. So I think at the end of the day, as an investor, you need to know, let's use 60 as that number. Well, 60 can be that you buy it for 50 and you put 10, or that you buy it at 10 and you put 50, but your number is 60. So if you have that model, that system that knows that your number, quote unquote, is 60, then the repairs, you know, it can go up or down. Of course, understanding that you always have that 10-15% allocation of repairs, because if the quote is 20, most likely you're gonna end up doing 22, 23. Something's gonna happen once you break down those walls.
Part of the matrix.
But
I think that answers that question.
You got your fudge factor.
Yes, absolutely. When we make that green, for example, we actually in our case put more than 20%. We say, you know what, it's 20-25%. If the quote comes at 10, I'm gonna put there 13, 14. And by the way, sometimes we do that, and they have come to red, and you go, wow, the seller told you 10, you put 14, and you moved it out because of that. Is that, you know, a bad move? No, because our experience says most of the time, if it's 10, you're gonna end up with 12, 13. You know,
especially if they fit the usual profile.
Yes.
15, 20, 15, 20. If it's something out of the profile, then you question it.
Excellent. Great stuff, guys. Great stuff.
And that's it.
No, we've got more to talk about.
Oh, okay. Okay. Awesome.
Actually, I thought we were going to get cut out, so